Good morning and welcome to Brookfield Zoo's Bringing the Zoo to You. My name is Christy and I'm an animal care specialist here at the zoo, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit about brown bears and also about how we care for our two male brown bears, Axhi and Jim. Today is a very special day. Axhi and Jim are celebrating their 25th birthday, and as you could see, they are getting some of their favorite treats today. So they do enjoy different types of fruits and vegetables. So today they have some watermelon, some apricots, also a shaved shank, some raisins, also some honey. So they're going to enjoy those treats during our talk. Now, brown bears in their natural habitat can live to be 20 to 25 years old. In a professional setting, they can actually live to be in their late 20s, early 30s, and on occasion, they could live to be into their 40s. Now, Axhi and Jim have a unique story. They were orphaned in Alaska, and they were found on Admiralty Island when they were about 5 months old. Since they were so young, they would not have been able to survive on their own without their mom. Brown bears typically stay with their mother for about 2.5 years before they are on their own. So Axhi and Jim arrived to Brookfield Zoo in 1995. We were fortunate enough to have an animal care specialist at a conference in Alaska at the time that helped transported them to Brookfield Zoo. And they were transported in air kennels, and they each weighed about 70 pounds each. Now Axhi and Jim, besides just having the name Axhi and Jim, they were named after two animal care specialists that used to work at the zoo at the time. And they also have, when they were in Alaska, they were named by the Tlingit Indians. And Axhi's name is Angoon, and it's actually a small fishing village near where they were found. And Jim is named Coots Nuwu, which means Fortress of Bears. So they actually have two names. It can be a little bit difficult to tell them apart. So to our left, we have Axhi. He's a little bit smaller in size. His coat's a little bit darker. He has a little bit more of a narrow face and a longer snout. Jim, over to our right, is interacting with some Enrichment. And he is a little bit bigger in size. He can be a little bit lighter in color and can also have a little bit more blonde to the coloration of his coat. Jim has a little bit more of a whiter head and a little bit more of a shorter snout. In the summer months, Axhi and Jim's fur becomes much lighter in color, so it can be more difficult to tell them apart. Since Jim is the more dominant bear, we have to make sure that both of the bears receive their appropriate amount of calories per day. So Axhi and Jim are separated in the morning for food. They will receive the majority of their protein, which includes chow, zoo carnivore diet, such as ground meat. They will also in the summer months receive some fish, along with all their fruits and vegetables. Bears are omnivores, so they do eat meat and a mixture of vegetation. So here at the zoo, we do like to give them a variety in their diet. So they will get watermelons, cantaloupes, apples, carrots, cucumbers. These are just some of the different fruits and vegetables that they receive. Later in the summer and early in the fall is when they receive the majority of their calories. So they can receive about 60 pounds of food a day. In the winter time, when their metabolism starts slowing down a little bit, they will just receive chow. Axhi and Jim currently weigh about 800 pounds. Like I said, Jim can be a little bit bigger than Axhi, so sometimes he weighs just a little bit more. And they do fluctuate about 100 pounds between their spring and winter weights. Now, brown bears are found in the U.S. in Alaska and the lower 48 states, so that includes Idaho, Washington, Wyoming, and Utah. They also can be found in Canada, Russia, and into Europe. They occupy forested and tundra habitat. Brown bears are solitary animals. The only time you would see bears together is when females have cubs or bears are feeding in rivers and streams. Females are smaller than males, weighing about 200 to 450 pounds, and males weigh roughly about 300 to 860 pounds. Axhi and Jim are coastal bears, so they are a little bit larger in size, and coastal bears have a tendency to be larger in size versus bears that are more inland due to the amount of protein that they consume. Brown bears in their native habitat will feed on vegetation, insects, small mammals, fish, and at times moose and elk. They have long nails that are 3 to 4 inches long that help with digging and tearing meat. And brown bear's fur can vary in color from blonde to almost black. There are roughly about 30,000 brown bears in Alaska and 1,000 brown bears in the lower 48 states. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has listed brown bears as threatened in the lower 48 states. Some of the threats that brown bears face are habitat degradation due to land development and road building, habitat fragmentation. Some bears are in isolated populations, so it makes it very difficult for those bears to travel outside of their population to find food, denning sites, and also to find a mate. Brown bears are also impacted by attractants that cause bears to become habituated to humans, so that's when you have a lot of human-bear conflicts. So if you do live in an area that bears occupy, it is important not to leave anything outside that can attract bears. They have a very keen sense of smell, and this includes garbage not stored in a bear-proof container, and food for household pets, just to name a few. So maybe we could take some questions now.
How tall are they when they stand up on their hind legs?
So brown bears can be anywhere from 5 to 9 feet tall.
How many claws do they have?
So they have 5 on the front and 4 on the back.
Why does their fur change color in the summer?
So when they're in the sun a lot, it does get kind of bleached out, so they will tend to have a little bit lighter coloration to their coats because they lay in the sun a lot.
Do they hibernate at the zoo?
We do not truly hibernate, Axhi and Jim. I was talking about the weight fluctuation previously, so we will have them go through seasonal changes in weight, so they will gain roughly about 100 pounds more than their spring weight. They will slow down, they will become more sleepy, and we do have a specific area on one of our exhibits, the hibernation den, that they go into to make a bed, and they will sleep in there, and their metabolisms do slow down. So we will actually feed them just chow during that time, during their kind of sleepy mode. And once the spring comes and they're more active, then we'll start increasing their diet again.
How fast can they run?
About 25 to 30 miles per hour.
And why are they called grizzly bears?
So some of the bears, brown bears, actually have a grizzled coat. So they can actually have, like, their tips of their fur can be blonde. So, and grizzlies do tend to be a little bit smaller in size.
What do they feel like? Are they soft?
Brown bears actually have 2 layers to their coat. The under layer is very soft and it's very insulating. And the outer layer is called the guard hairs, and that helps protect their skin.
Do they really eat honey?
So here at the zoo, we do give them honey. It is one of their favorite treats. In the wild, it's probably not as available, but I would say if they have the opportunity, they will eat honey.
What are their favorite enrichment items?
We give Axhi and Jim many items that have holes in them that we could stuff their food into. They're very food motivated. They do forage a lot, so we like to put food inside enrichment items to just promote longer foraging times. And also, like you see, we like to use also frozen ice treats in the summer that also encourage a longer foraging time.
Do they shed?
They do shed. They actually shed in the spring and also in the fall. So they will, during the summertime, have a little bit of a thinner coat than in the winter.
What's their zoo diet like?
So here at the zoo, we do feed them protein such as dog chow. They do get bones with meat on them. Those bones are very important because just like we brush our teeth every day, those bones allow for healthy teeth and gums. It helps clean their teeth. They also get fish during the summertime, and they get a zoo carnivore diet that's kind of like ground meat. And they also get a variety of fruits and vegetables. So they will get carrots, watermelon, cantaloupe, grapes, cucumbers. So we do get a variety for them.
How many brown bears are there in the world?
So total in the world, there's about 170,000.
So are they endangered?
So in the lower 48 states, there are only 1,000, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife has listed them as a threatened species.
How many babies can they have?
They can have 1 to 4, but on average, they have about 2.
Can you remind us how old Jim and Axhi are and how long brown bears live?
Axhi and Jim are 25 years old. So in their natural habitat, they could live to be 20 to 25 years old. But in a zoo setting, they can actually live to be in their late 20s, early 30s. And because they're under such good care, they could actually live to be into their 40s.
Now, we had a training session with Hudson last week. Do the brown bears get trained at all?
Yep, brown bears will be trained just as much as our polar bears are trained. We do not go in with any of the brown bears. It's all protected contact. Because we cannot go in with them, we have to make sure we can get a really good look at their bodies. So they do know certain behaviors such as mouth open. We can get a really good look at their teeth and their gums. They do stand up, so we could see the underside of their bellies. They also do paw presentation. We have recently trained them for voluntary injection training for their vaccines, and also if they need to be anesthetized. They do target training, and we do get weekly weights on Axhi and Jim and all of our bears.
How often do they go to the vet for physicals?
Pretty much they're on a 3-year plan right now. Unless we do have issues with one of the bears, then we will call the vets to come take a look at them. The nice thing about training is that the vets could come by. We could just do a simple training session, and they could get a better look at the individual to see if we need to look at them a little bit further.
Do you ever see them stand up?
They do stand up. During our training sessions, we will also ask them to stand just so we can get a better look at their nails, their paw pads, the underside of their bellies. So they will stand up.
How much do they currently weigh?
Axhi and Jim are roughly about 800 pounds currently.
Can they swim?
They do swim. They are good swimmers. Actually, when we first moved into Great Bear Wilderness, Axhi has learned how to dive our larger pools. Jim does not like to get his ears wet much, but Axhi will dive into the deeper end of the pool to retrieve either his bones or other food items that drop down there.
Now, I know you talked about bears being solitary creatures. So how come the two brothers are able to live together?
So Axhi and Jim were altered several years ago. Normally males would disperse and have their own territories and find females to breed with. So because they were altered, they're able to live together.
How many teeth do they have?
They have 42 teeth. And those teeth are used for shredding meat and grinding meat. And you can also see Jim is using his nails a lot. Their nails are about 3 to 4 inches long. So they really use those nails to tear meat and also to pick at their ice treats and other fruit and vegetables that they have.
Can you remind us again what they're eating right now?
So currently in their ice treats, so Axhi was just eating some watermelon. In Jim's ice treat, there's some apricots. There are also some raisins. There's also a shaved shank bone on top of the ice treat. So they really like the marrow inside of the bone. And it looks like there's some cantaloupe, some honey drizzled on top. So they're having a really good birthday today.
How long do cubs stay with their mothers?
So cubs stay with their moms typically for about 2.5 years before they're ready to go out on their own.
How long is their gestation period?
So it's hard to predict just because bears are delayed implantators, so they have delayed implantation. What that means is during the breeding season, which is May to July, females and males will breed. That egg will be fertilized, but it will not implant until the female gains enough weight to sustain that pregnancy and also nurse the cubs throughout the winter time. So she will have her cubs. So the egg will implant roughly around October, November, and the female will have her cubs around January, February, and they will come out in the spring out of the den.
Can you remind us again how to tell them apart?
Sure. So Jim is over to the left. He's a little bit bigger than Axhi. He has a little bit wider head and a shorter snout. He can also be a little bit more blonde in color on his head. Axhi to our right is a little bit smaller. He has a little bit more of a narrow face and a longer snout, and usually he's darker in color.
What noises do they make?
They do roar sometimes, and also at times when they have been separated, we'll hear some hoot noises. So they do vocalize every now and then, but you will hear some roaring sometimes between the two bears.
How big are their paws?
Their paws are pretty big. I would say they're probably about from the top to where the bottom pad is, maybe about 8 inches.
Do they ever play with each other?
We have seen them wrestle. Most of the time it's in the springtime. It's kind of during the breeding season. I wouldn't actually call it play, but during that time, that's when males would be looking for females to breeding. So you will see Axhi and Jim in the pools sometimes wrestling, but it's not very aggressive, and it's something that they do every season.
These geese are so loud. Do they climb?
They do not climb.
How much do they eat every day?
So in the summertime, around August, September is when they receive the highest calories. So I would say about 60 pounds a day.
Can you remind us again if either of them have had offspring?
They have not.
How do they know not to go in the moat?
So they actually can go down into the moat. There are stairs to the right side. All 3 of our exhibits have moats. So they can actually go down the stairs if they choose to. There's not a lot down there that they really want to go down, but they have and they will at times.
How many bears are at Brookfield Zoo?
So brown bears, we have 2 males, Axhi and Jim. We have Hudson, our male polar bear. We have Nan, our female polar bear. But also we have 2 sloth bears, Hani and Kartik, which you could see over by the large cats. Well, it looks like we're wrapping it up, folks. I thank you for joining me. When the zoo opens, please come by and see Axhi and Jim here at Great Bear Wilderness. And I hope you guys learned a little bit about brown bears today and Axhi and Jim, and have a great day.